These are the advantages of the International Criminal Court's, the ICC's jurisdiction over the crime of terrorism. The crime of terrorism could be included in the jurisdiction of the ICC either using the existing typologies of crimes defined in the Rome Statute or creating an ad hoc standalone definition. In order to evaluate the advantages that any potential ICC jurisdiction could add to the international strategy against terrorism, it is necessary to weigh up its potential effectiveness as a powerful way to combat and suppress the threat of terrorist attacks and even wrongful abuse of terrorism charges. First of all, the ICC guarantees an effective tribunal in which perpetrators of certain crimes can be prosecuted under international criminal law. The ICC in fact represents a more capable forum than some national systems which are truly unable to provide legal certainty to the whole international community, and in particular to weak and unstable states. Smaller states could face problems in efficiently prosecuting terrorists for lacking of either the necessary financial resources or the national judicial system's power to put criminals on trial, granting an effective legal enforcement. The presence of the ICC could discharge these states from something which they are unable to carry out, benefiting all of the international community. Secondly, the ICC guarantees neutrality and impartiality, permitting to avoid any judicial or political impasses that sometimes characterize national trials. From a strictly procedural standpoint, the ICC jurisdiction could resolve any potential claim of jurisdiction among states, and it could also be effective to resolve certain extradition problems which often arise between unfriendly states. In this sense, the ICC jurisdiction will inevitably force to a high degree of judicial cooperation between state parties and even non-state parties. This, for example, could avoid that problem in which terrorists seek safe haven in states that have flexible and soft legislation against terrorism. Thirdly, the ICC could prosecute numbers of terrorist groups that hold powerful positions within a country's formal institutions, whether political parties or otherwise. In other words, the ICC can grant to prosecute terrorists in certain political circumstances that would have never allowed a prosecution in their respective national legal system and political situations. In this context, it is worth to consider that the ICC can provide with an incentive for states to incorporate a common definition of terrorism in their respective domestic laws and to become vigilant in investigating alleged violations. Fourthly, Article 25 of the Rome Statute states that the ICC can exercise its jurisdiction not only over the main perpetrator of the offence, but also over a wide variety of his accomplices. This provision is particularly relevant considering that Article 25 has in fact provided the ICC with the power to prosecute people who have helped, incited, or facilitated in planning such terrorist attacks. Finally, to provide ICC with jurisdiction over terrorism will send an evident message that the international community considers terrorism as a particularly serious crime and condemning it in the utmost manner. Terrorism will finally be treated as a crime of such magnitude that it is not committed only upon the victims themselves and the state in which they occurred, but indeed against all of mankind. Terrorists will be treated the same as pirates, and will be prosecuted as hostis humani generis, the enemy of all mankind, as well as the perpetrators of crime against humanity, war crimes, and genocide. In this sense, the ICC's jurisdiction will enhance the universal condemnation of terrorist attacks and even terrorist acts, and will strengthen the rejection of terrorism as a means to bring any change. The greater international cooperation which is required by the ICC will result into a greater international stability and efficacy in the fight against international terrorism. In this scenario, the ICC jurisdiction will arguably present an alternative to combating terrorism to the use of forceful measures. Another forceful advantage of prosecution of international terrorism in the International Criminal Court will be that those who are hiding behind the facade of constitutional protection, such as constitutional responsibility rulers and their cohorts, will be totally undermined. Thus, based upon the reasons enumerated, these are the major advantages of the ICC's jurisdiction over the crime of terrorism, punishable in the International Criminal Court pursuant to the Rome Statute.